share the screen, right?
Good morning and welcome to all of you out there who are joining this MVB Fashion Sustainability webinar this morning. We're going to just let everyone join while we get started. Apologies for having no background to my screen, but I'm working off-site today. I'm out of the office, so it just didn't work. But all of the rest of the speakers all have beautiful backgrounds to them. Good morning and welcome. We'll be starting in just a couple of minutes.
So you will be able to. You are on mute. Am I?
Once again, a good morning to all of you who are joining us today for this MVB webinar called Style and Sustainability, the Fashion Revolution. And we're going to just get started now, I think, because we should stick to our schedule, and I'm sure people will join as they are able to do so. We've got 3 speakers out of 4 today. We've unfortunately, COVID and circumstances unfortunately mean that people are not always able to do the things that they want to at the moment. So we have lost Susanna Perini as one of our speakers, but I hope that we'll be able to share even more information from the 3 speakers that we have as a result. And we do have experts on board with us today, experts in exactly what we're talking about, the sustainability for the fashion industry. Now, most people think the fashion industry is fun, and it is fun, but it's also a gigantic worldwide business, which is one of the businesses which has a really serious sustainability problem. It's got an environmental impact way more than it should do because of the manufacturing, but also because of the end of life of the garments that we wear. Disposal of garments is a very difficult thing. It's very difficult to upcycle, difficult to recycle, though people are getting better, and I'm sure our speakers will be talking about that today. It causes, the manufacturing is a major problem with greenhouse gas, and often the plantations cause biodiversity loss. We've got aspects like mistreatment of garment workers, racial injustices as people spread their manufacturing to the lower paid countries to try and get economies of scale. We've got major challenges in raw materials, which traditionally have not been sustainable and are increasingly moving to sustainability. So the manufacturing processes themselves were started in the Industrial Revolution, and some of them haven't advanced very much either. So those processes are beginning to get better. Water use is being reduced, wastewater being controlled, energy use being gradually reduced as well. And that's all in the manufacturing and sourcing side, which we talked about in our first webinar at the end of last year. But then we need to move on to the retail side, and the fact that the retail business has to sell more to make more profit. And the more garments they sell, the more garments there are reaching our waste dumps. So it's actually a major problem. And the solutions have to start right at the beginning with the design. The design has to then flow through to the materials, to the manufacturing process. And then, of course, we have to find that wonderful thing, circularity. Fortunately, we've got people who know what they're talking about to tell us how to do it today. We've got three speakers, Marina Schaborn, JP Savecki, and Vania Audrey, who is joining us for the first time. Marina is going to start us off, and Marina is, honestly, I've known her for a number of years now, and she really knows this business very well. And sorry, I've got somebody at my door here. And so Marina is going to start us off. Let me give you just a quick background on Marina before she starts. She has an MA in Sustainability and Fashion, and she is a known expert in this field. She has sustainability, innovations, and circular running through her everything she does. She is running a consultancy called Closed Loop Fashion, which looks after the way in which people think and act and implement the closed fashion. For the last decade, she's been working globally within all tiers of the supply chain, supervising projects for fiber and fabric development, social and environmental compliance, and the implementation of closed loop material cycles through circular design and product development strategies. I've heard her speaking on many occasions. Every time she gets better as the more experience she gets and the more aspects of the business she attacks. She's actively involved in Indonesia. Has been looking after a lot of projects here as well as the rest of Asia. And we're going to pass over to her today to talk more about the recent innovations in modeling in the industry, which she keeps a close track on. The circular business models are being developed. So I'm going to pass over to Marina now, and I urge you all to listen to what she has to say. Thank you very much for being with us, Marina. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. 1 second, I'm just going to share my screen. And so, is that visible for everyone? Okay. I'm just starting. I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes.
I don't get a feedback. Okay,
perfect.
It's
coming up nicely.
Okay,
thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Marina.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, good morning. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm very happy to welcome you as well to the second webinar of this webinar series on sustainable fashion. And whereas we have been looking a bit more into fibers and materials in the first session, this time it's really to listen a little bit more from people in their daily business practice as corporates, how they were able to incorporate sustainability and circularity. This will be indicated by the two speakers who will follow my presentation. And from my perspective, I have been preparing a bit more facts and figures as there have been a lot of new reports being released on the current situation how far we are with circular fashion in our industry. As you all know, everything has been a bit disrupted the past 2 years. So reliable numbers that we have are actually from 2019. So it's good to see new reports being here and actually indicating where we're heading. And if these like COVID disruptions have actually caused backlashes, or how is the industry doing in terms of circularity. So I want to give you a little bit more like a summary today of these latest findings and publications. And just introduce myself for those who are joining today and have not met me before. My name is Marina, as Alistair already introduced. I'm the founder of Closed Loop Fashion, which is a sustainability consulting service that is focusing on supply chain compliance within Asian countries. So we focus a bit more on implementing social and environmental compliance standards according to local laws or international standards into the production processes of manufacturing facilities, from raw material to garment making. We also integrate a lot of textile waste management practices, which is a very new concept for a lot of factories, as extended producer responsibility concepts are just starting to getting introduced in a lot of countries in legislations. And we also support, of course, factories in terms of how to create products for circularity and sustainability, how to develop dedicated materials for these kind of products, and just to support them in the transition to be an active enabler and stakeholder within circular and sustainable future-proof supply chains. So that's the introduction to what we are doing. And now I want to start into the topic. I have been naming the presentation for today, Enabling Circular Business Models in Fashion. Actually, in 2022, this is what we have now. We can say that it's now actually a decade that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation was framing the circular economy for the first time as an actual business opportunity. So this kind of term of circular economy is now out for 10 years. And I think it's a good moment to kind of recap where we have started and how it's going so far. And yeah, since this kind of report was launched 10 years ago, we can actually see that a lot of business interest into this field has occurred. There has been done a lot of research. Circular economy is a buzzword. I think everyone is aware of it, but what does it actually mean? Like, what is exactly circular? And that's already like one of the first challenges, is that a lot of companies or people or initiatives came up with like their own interpretation or definition of what actually is circular, which is also kind of misleading, as a lot of concepts that are out there are not exactly what we would understand in a defined way as actual circular concepts. And regardless of the situation, we are now at a point where we need to shift from talking and research into actual actions, and to really see how our industry can become circular, with focusing on economical and also environmental feasibility. And that's very, very important facts. And I will indicate this in some of the later slides, is what we also saw in the last 30, 40 years in sustainability, that unfortunately, while this is based on 3 pillars, not all these pillars are always addressed, and therefore no holistic sustainability is practiced. And of course, we don't want to repeat this kind of same mistakes, or just take these learnings from sustainability into now initiating an actual circular fashion movement, and just started right from the very beginning. So I want to indicate here the way of altering traditional business models towards circularity. I've been putting here 3 key points that are very important for this kind of shift from the classical or conventional setup where we are, to shifting towards circularity. And one of the most important things that we need in right now is to implement and upscale circular business models on a wide scale. Right now, this is very limited access, is very fragmented. So there is like here and there some sort of businesses, but this is not really creating an actual infrastructure that would support a scalable solution for circularity. So what we really need to achieve is to scale up circular business models. And we currently see, and I'm going to show this in a later slide, there are a lot of limitations in some of the circular business models. They might not be scalable if we continue to think in the same way we have been thinking before. So we really need to change our mindset and look at things in a different way to actually see if there's a chance of scaling things. And the second point is business model innovations. Yeah, so we really have to innovate, for example, to rethink ownership, like to move from sales to leasing, or what we need to do is to develop new technologies. And very, very importantly, and this is the part which is currently left out the most, is social innovations. We need to create new ways of interacting and connecting with stakeholders, but very, very importantly, with the consumer, who is becoming center stage in a circular model. And the last, but actually one of the most important ones, is we need supportive policy frameworks. So we need actual legislations that give us guidance, what needs to be achieved, that give us actual timelines and deadlines. So there is like a common sense of the industry to work towards common goals. But also this will help, of course, to generate more understanding amongst consumers in terms of how they need to change their behavior, and would also give the chance, of course, to integrate this in educational concepts. I put one of these like super interesting figures here. This is actually from one of the latest LMIC Arthur Foundation reports on the opportunities of circular business models. And what you can see in this chart is that closing production from 2000 to 2015, so you see here this purple line, has actually doubled in numbers, whereas the closing utilization, which is like the average number of how many times a garment was worn by a consumer, actually increased or decreased, sorry, by 36%. Yeah, and this is actually not a good trend, because what this is showcasing is that people consume more, but using the garments less that they are buying or purchasing. Right now, what we see is that the main CO2 emissions generated are actually during the manufacturing stage, which cover about 70% of the whole CO2 emissions in the textile segments. But this kind of very unsustainable consuming practice has also led up to this very high number of the fashion industry now being in charge for generating 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions of the overall total global emissions that are produced from all industries and people. So it's quite a significant amount. And yeah, our consuming behavior and product use is contributing massively to this. And yeah, of course, in regards to climate goals that are set for all industry, this is a practice that obviously cannot be continued the way it is right now, as otherwise we would definitely going to fail to contribute to the 1.5 degree targets. And I'm shifting to the next slide. I hope you can see this well. So this is actually quite interesting. I've been putting this here for you. These are the numbers pre-COVID from 2019. And what we see here in the circle is like the total fashion market in size. So it's actually in value, in USD and US dollars, the economic value. And as you can see indicated here is that actually in 2019, 3.5% of this global fashion market share were already covered by circular business concepts. And then we can see on the right side how this has been split down. The major part was actually resale with 63% of this. So we can definitely see that resale has been a very successful circular business concept, followed by rental with 21%, repair with 13%, and the last stage is remaking with only 4%. So this is quite interesting, but looking into this, it also makes sense because Obviously, resale and rental is like the most convenient, the easiest for consumers to access and to use. Customers, especially after these last few years with digitalization and now with COVID and people staying home, people have become so accustomed to e-commerce and shopping online and just getting goods delivered to their doorstep and not having to go into actual stores. So these concepts really indicate why they have been successful, and it will be very interesting for you to see how it's going to change in the next few years. Repair, actually, I find it surprising that it's 13%. I find this quite a lot, so happy to see this. Repair is not super easy actually to scale up, because obviously it is requesting the consumer to take actual actions and to go somewhere to bring his product to get it repaired. And in some countries, costs for repair services are quite high compared to maybe buying a new garment. It's not like really competitive or convenient for someone to actually invest this money instead of buying something new. And remaking, which is especially referring to redesigning, to upcycling. Yeah, this is still unfortunately a concept that has not been developed in a very scalable structure or systemized. So right now it is extremely labor intense, it is very time intense, it is cost intense, and it's not really leading to scalable collections. Therefore, we can also see the indication here in these numbers why it is still like the smallest of these like circular economy business models. And now, very interesting to compare to what we just saw, we are looking into the numbers indicated for economic value of resale, rental, repair, and remaking by 2030, so in the coming 8 years. And as you can see, the global market share is way increased from the actual 3.5% we saw from 2019. It will be, or it is estimated to be 23%. And to look into the split up, we see resale, rental, repair, and remaking stays actually in the same order. Resale will be the most successful one. Rental is actually compared to before decreasing. Repair, as we can see, also will not really establish it as a successful business model. The same, unfortunately, is for remaking, which is even less indicated for the next few years. What we can actually say is if 23% of the global economic value is covered by circular business models, as indicated here, we will be able to contribute significantly to the reduction of CO2 emissions. And to put this into numbers, that would actually make a third of all emissions to be reduced within the textile industry. So that would definitely be a very significant success to achieve climate targets. A critical approach, everyone who has talked to me before has seen my presentation. I always really encourage everyone to ask questions and to be very critical about concepts, even so they are indicated in the first place as maybe proper solutions or lifesavers or bringing change, but often they are not thought through fully or they're not holistically applied. So they can even be more harmful than helpful if not applied in the correct way. And I also want to identify some of these points here just to give a few examples. The first one I call circular activities are often presented as business solutions. Yeah, and here are some examples of creating products for longevity, for durability, using recycled material content, for example, or creating actual products for circularity. It sounds good in the first place. It actually is good. But the thing is, in the system where we are right now, they will not be economically feasible. They will not be profitable. Why is that? For example, if we create a long-lasting product, your customer will consume less. Of course, this is what we actively want to achieve, but if you are stuck in the system where we are right now, you would not be competitive this way. So looking into corporates and the setup, this is tricky. Looking into design for circularity, actually some brands, it takes them 1.5 or 2 years to actually launch products into the market that are fully circular. We are still very, very limited with trims and materials and chemicals that can be used in processes and supply chains to create holistic circular fashion products. So here that would also require a lot of research and development, a lot of testing, a lot of costs on human resource, on labor, on trials, and so on. In the end, this product definitely would not be competitive with a conventional product. And to give another example is to use recycled material feedstock. If you look into recycled polyester, which currently is like the main material used with recycled content, the market price is higher than its virgin counterparts. So also, how do you indicate this in your retail prices later? On one hand, you have recycled materials, but then on the other hand, it would not be able to compete with virgin counterpart products. And also, of course, if you would look into environmental aspects here, it would still shed microfibers just like virgin polyester. So maybe it's using less resources within the process, but still it would do harmful practices to the environment. The second point is specific business models are often presented as circular. There's a lot of misinterpretation of what actually it means circular or is a circular product. So there is no holistic approach to this. One example I can give is what I saw, I think last year was one of the big international brands promoting their circular fashion collection. I think it was a kids line for children. And I saw that the material composition was organic cotton blended with recycled polyester. This has nothing to do with circularity. These material compositions will not be separable for actual recycling in the end of the life of this product, so it cannot and should not be declared as a circular product. And also, for example, if we look into these like more service-based models like renting actually comes with a lot of packaging, with a lot of transportation. The garments need dry cleaning, so there's also a lot of environmental unfriendly practices involved, which easily can make this kind of business model not very sustainable in the end. And another example, circular business model and the environment, so I indicated this already before, is that not everything is exactly also good for the environment that is currently practiced or declared as circular. When we want to close material loops, this has to be done through waste logistics. So for this, we need waste collecting. Right now, if you look into post-consumer waste, so used garments, to bring them back, there are two systems. It's the selective take-back system and also the take-back system, like general collecting. This is not practiced in all countries, obviously, but just to indicate from those countries where it is already practiced, what are their findings or takes from the current situation is the general collecting scheme, which is mainly related to charities collecting to give it then for donations for homeless people, which was like the initial indication of why this has been established. Of course, today this is a big machinery that is also selling the used garments into other countries and making business out of this. This concept has been around for many decades, and in countries where this is established, people are accustomed to donate their garments, knowing that then they would contribute to supporting another person, for example, a homeless person. So people often are very careful with what they throw into these boxes. So often the quality is quite good and is really leading to an actual market business. Whereas what we can see today with a lot of fast fashion retailers producing in way lower quality is also that the quality of these collected garments is going down and down. Selective take-back is something that was only initiated a few years back, and that is mainly relating to take-back systems that are placed at the point of sale, usually by brands within their stores in collaboration with collectors. Very interestingly is that brands to get materials back are incentivizing the customers. They give vouchers or discounts, usually per kilo of what you bring back in old garments. The first trials over the last years have unfortunately shown that people bring back absolutely low qualities. When they drop these bags with garments, no one is actually controlling it. They get vouchers or discount based on kilos, so they really try to fill up these bags and make them as heavy as possible. And they really just put a lot of garments or textile materials into it that are not really reusable anymore. And that is quite harmful for the whole market concept. And this is also leading me to raising the point of the new role of consumers. The consumer is becoming absolute center stage of circularity. Most of the circular business concept we will not be able to complete or achieve without the consumer as our new stakeholder. And this is a new thinking of seeing the consumer not at the end of our supply chain, but actually pretty much at the middle of it, being the contributor and enabler of circular practices and being part of our new circular fashion supply chain. And yeah, this can absolutely not be underestimated how important this is. And this is actually the point where our industry right now is failing massively by not being able to connect to the consumer in a new way and to include and involve them into these kind of practices and make him aware of why he is important and how this person as a consumer can contribute actually to achieving circularity. And also best practice examples, as we see in some countries that have waste policies in place already for a few decades, is that people do change their behavior if they grow up with these kind of policies around them, learning from an early stage what means waste segregation and recycling. So this also indicates what we said already before, that policy frameworks are very important and can really help contributing to achieving circularity. And that's leading me to my very last slide. I'm still okay on time. This is actually just published. It's the latest McKinsey report called State of Fashion 2022. It was published now before the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. So I'm very sure that numbers in this report would probably need to be adjusted for 2022 on this current situation. But what we can see where we are right now in the industry is that we're actually recovering from a pandemic crisis. We are in very, very unprecedented times in terms of supply chains. There's a lot of costs involved currently for logistics. Sourcing practices cannot be continued as they did before. So this will be one of our biggest challenges ahead of us, which is also indicating that a localized circular economy with recycling, take-back system, waste management infrastructure, real logistic infrastructures within one country absolutely makes sense to build up in the next few years. And we also see that sustainability is on one hand a big opportunity and on the other hand still a big challenge. So this kind of equals itself in numbers, and we can see that we're still not where we should maybe be in terms of sustainability. What we can see is one of the biggest opportunities is digitalization, and that really plays into a circular business concept, as a lot of them are based on technologies, on apps, on e-commerce. So it actually makes sense to look way more into digital and technology, digital options to actually achieve circularity and address customers in a very new way. And with this, I'm handing over. I actually can't see anyone, but I hope you're all.
I'm here. Don't worry, Marina. Thank you very much indeed. As always, extremely well argued, extremely well researched, extremely clear in what is needed to be done. Thank you very much indeed. We are facing, as you said, a huge challenge in these different areas. I've got a couple of, we're going to do general questions at the end, but I've got a couple of questions now, if I may, to just strike while people are thinking about what you've said. Extended producer responsibility. Now we hear about that the plastic bottles, with a brand name on it that shows it's yours. Do you think there's going to be legislation which says, you're producing garments, you have to be responsible for their end of life as well, Marina? Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I can mainly speak for the European market and European Union regulations, and this is definitely something that is coming. For example, it has been established that by 2025, Germany has to ensure to have a textile waste collecting infrastructure nationwide, and that has to be established by the communities. So this is a very, very new approach. While it is now by charities, it has to go actually into the responsibility of governments and communities, making them really responsible to reuse the waste. So in this case, it's a little bit different, as you were just asking to give responsibility to the companies, but obviously the companies will need to contribute to having their waste properly collected and segregated to go into this kind of system. So I definitely see that in all these circular policies globally that are initiated, extended producer responsibility is an absolute key factor.
Well, the brand has to be involved in the life cycle of its own products. Yeah. Now, I come from a country, Scotland, where we prided ourselves on the length of usage of every object, because being Scottish, we wanted to get the maximum lifetime out of everything from clothes to shoes to even cars, houses, whatever. But that's a challenge, as you say, because the longer on the competitive, the solution to this. I mean, I have a pair of 60-year-old shoes that are in perfect shape. British made Jones the bootmaker. Obviously, the shoe manufacturers must hate me because I'm wearing a pair of shoes that are kept on going. I should have had 60 different pairs of shoes. Is there a solution to this so we get higher quality goods that last longer, but that becomes uncompetitive in the manufacturing? Where do we go to with this?
Yeah, I think that's the very big conflict that is challenging the industry right now, is obviously if we would actually achieve sustainability practices, they would not be economically feasible if they are done in the same way as we have been practicing the production and the purchasing and the consuming of goods as we did so far. And this is what everyone is always indicating is the systemic change. The thing is, to be realistic, there will be no systemic change for a very, very long time unless systems would get massively disrupted by finite resources ending or whatever, and we really have to rethink everything in a very new way. But unless there's only small startups and small projects and this here and here, there will be no systemic change. That means we really need to rethink these kind of products and how we earn money from them. We can see a lot that ownership is changing. So ownership actually stays with the companies instead with you as a consumer. So what we know from renting or leasing apartments or cars, that this is also moved into electronics, into clothes, which would give the companies a monthly income from these products, and also give them access to the resource at the end of its life to be able to also have cheaper raw material feedstock input.
Okay, my last question before we move on to JP is interesting. I mean, you've got the total market sales of the whole fashion industry, only 3.5%, but still a massive figure of $73 billion, moves up in this projection to 23%, mostly through resale and rental. What's driving the resale? What's that predicted resale market? How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's currently the fastest growing market segment in fashion. It's actually even estimated to rise further than the luxury segment. So it really will be one of the market leading segments, which is very, very interesting. I think it's also a little bit the fun of it, to know you're buying something that usually if you would buy it new, it would be like double or triple or 4 times the price, and you got it for, you know, a cheaper price, but it's actually a very good high value product. Usually in countries where resale was established already for a long time with secondhand shops, you had to run from one secondhand shop to another, and there was all like often, you know, smelly and old garments, and you had to go through it, and then you finally found something that was not available in your size or whatever. So it was not really an easy accessible market, whereas now that this is going mainly into re-commerce or resale platforms, yeah, it's so easy. You just say what you're looking for. I'm looking for a jacket in this size and this color, and then you get all these possibilities. So I think the accessibility through digital solutions here is the key factor why this is so easy, and also of course the cost factor for consumers.
So this is not cross-border resales, as we've seen the European clothing going to Africa and being very efficiently distributed through the markets and sold out in days. But
Yeah.
that's one resale. This is actually within a country,
Exactly.
and the consumer changing from first-time buyer to second-time buyer
Exactly.
of good clothing.
Yeah, exactly. And quite interesting, the indication is that this will be led by the European and American market, but actually the Asian market is catching up quite massively, which I think is very, very interesting, considering that in most Asian countries there is hardly no like secondhand or resale or leasing markets right now. So we can definitely see that this is something that is becoming a very big business opportunity in Asian markets as well in the next few years.
The only resale shop I saw was in Jalan Benda in Jakarta, and it closed down. So it obviously wasn't successful.
Yeah, looks like.
Yeah, which is kind of sad. But there's something to do with the psychology in Indonesia that new is better than secondhand. So we actually have to change the consumer psychology as well, I guess. I'm going to let Marina take a break. We'll have more questions back to her later, and we move on to JP Savecki. JP, are you with us? Let me just give you a quick introduction to this gentleman. He's the president director of Holit International, also Eco Laundry Hijau Indonesia, which I think probably describes what it does. Eco Laundry Hijau sounds like it's a very sustainable laundry practice. He is a director of Pan Brothers, with the biggest garment manufacturers in Indonesia with 300,000 workers. But I happen to know he's dedicated to the whole sustainability thing. I mean, the reason that we're doing this today really is because JP started that push and introduced us to Marina and said this is important. Most people think of power stations as important, cars, emissions as important, but the fashion industry is equally as important, and all of us are involved in it. We wear it every day, and we are very much, as Marina said, the consumer is somebody who has to be educated. JP is in the business to business section rather than selling to us, but the things that he and his company do matter enormously to the end product. So we're going to pass over to JP and hear what the processes can be done, what improvements can be made, why it's important to know who's behind the manufacturing and the processes it goes through. JP, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Agi, are you going to help me out with the change in the pages of our presentation? Agi?
It must be done by Elki, I think, Pak.
No, I think just now, I think was sent over to you by Wari. Anybody can help? Marina, I don't know if you can help. Marina, can you help?
If you send it to my email, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Wari just had to go somewhere else, so he cannot.
Maybe should we let Vanya start with
Yeah,
her
let's
presentation?
Vanya
And
go first and we sort this out.
Okay.
Vanya, are you ready? I know we'll spring on you, and I'll give, if you don't mind, going while JP sorts his presentation out and finds out where it's all been sent to. Let me give an introduction to Vanya in the meantime. We've just met Vanya, but I like what I'm hearing about her. She's got a company called Pijak Bumi, which is an impact-driven company committed to implement good design. That's an ethical approach. Well, that's obviously what we want to hear from the very beginning. If you've got an ethical approach to business, that means that you want to do things the right way. Alongside academics, material researchers, local artisans and manufacturers, they develop plant-derived materials which are biodegradable and recycled to reduce water use in material processing and manufacturing. Their work already has been recognized by Good Design Indonesia, Emerging Designers Award at MICAM in Milano, and Accelerate 2030 in Geneva. Congratulations. A little bit about Vanya. Vanya Audrey Pakpahan. She's a graduate Bachelor of Arts in Department of International Relations, University Catholic Parahyangan in Bandung. Nothing to do with fashion in your academic studies, Vanya. International relations and international affairs and journalism. So she's moved out of her academic sphere into a sustainable footwear startup. We'd love to hear more. Why is it sustainable? Why do you do it? What do you do? And where do we find it? Over to you, Vanya.
Okay, thank you, Ali, for the introduction. And let me share my screen. Okay, everyone can see my screen clearly.
Yep, looks good.
Thank you for inviting me. This is my first time to meet with all of you. So Pijak Bumi sounds more Indonesia. We are a local footwear brand, meaning earthing. So if you know the philosophy of walking barefoot so you can neutralize your emotions and you get closer to your Mother Earth, that's what we want when our customers wear our shoes. So we are committed to create a better footwear with ethical approach and good designs so we can fulfill our customers' needs in fashion while giving values to our local craftsmen and environment. So we embarked our journey in 2016. So we met our local craftsman, our local shoemaker in Cibaduyut area in Bandung, West Java. And we figured out the condition, unhealthy condition, the way they work, the way they made our shoes, like contaminated with chemical additives in a small room. So our strong why coming from that we want to empower our local shoemaker, and we want to encourage our customers to know what behind the shoes you made. Okay, so this is a little more about myself. Okay, and yeah, everyone, if you search fast fashion and your search engine, these are 4 important things, condition that we figure out. The first one, chrome tanned leather pollute the water and has high global warming potentials. Actually, in 2016, Pijak Bumi made handmade sneakers using vegetable tanned leather, but it also coming from cow leather. So, and then in 2018, we were pivoting into more plant-derived materials. And the second condition, we know that one pair of canvas shoes needs 20,000 liters of water. Indonesian workers are paid $5 per day, and almost 80% of fashion products end up in landfill. including shoes. Okay. Okay. The other statement, I also figure out that fashion is the second biggest polluter in the world next to big oil. I know Marina and the team here are the experts for the research, but what we can do as a local brand with our own capacity, our own resources, we know that it is not too late to act and bring real impact to the society and to the world with your current resources. So what Pijak Bumi offers is creating shoes with our product DNA included a good design, fairly priced, and ethical approach. Ethical means we are pivoting from cow leather into 80% plant-derived materials and sourced locally. For examples, here are our articles, Atlas sneakers. It is made of crab soles and canaf hemp fibers. So our canaf fiber comes from Semarang city in Indonesia. It is cultivated by our local farmers and hand loop with traditional machine, while the crab sole coming from natural rubber latex. Okay. And then this is kayu lantung or lantung tree bark. It is one of Indonesian traditional craftsmanship that comes from local tree bark. So during the process, the bark is skinned and hammered to thin. It results a leather look like lantung. Okay, these are our local shoemaker who survived during the pandemic. So the objective of fairly priced means that we want to empower our local shoemaker, leverage their domestic economic growth. So we increase 60% of their monthly wages. Well, with our own capacity, we know we have to connect the dots so we can go further, so we can go faster, creating a better standards in footwear industry. So we cooperate with academies, with material researchers, with local weaving artisans, local shoemakers, and big manufacturers with the same vision as us. And we create the circular. I'm not sure if we are already circular, but we want to educate our customers about the material processing behind it, about the manufacturing, and also how we can extend the life of our shoes by repairing it within 2 years after wearing that shoes. Okay, so talking about our current industry, Pijak Bumi shoes has already export to Japanese market and Switzerland market. So to introduce about our whole process, I want you watch this video. This is our collaboration between Gamatex, one of textile manufacturer in Indonesia, and Tencel from Lansing Group. the other one. I completely agree that pandemic affect our local shoemakers, so maybe it can represent the condition that affects our business operational.
Untuk memberlakukan PPKM darurat sejak tanggal 3 Juni.
Yeah, maybe this is a short introduction about our brand. And what I want to share is that we are a small medium enterprises. We are a local brand with our small capacity, but we want to create a bigger impact. So what we can do is to connect between those who has the power with our creativity, and then we can deliver a better options to the customers. So I want to listen more from your questions, probably. That's all from me. Thank you.
Dania, very impressive. Enjoyed that very much. And your videos, use of video, of course, the new method of communication. Well, it's not so new, but it's very good for bringing an emotional message across as well, which is important to make sure. I love want to make a bigger impact. See, the part of the problem in small to medium enterprises is that they are small to medium, and it's difficult to make a bigger impact. Do you think you could be multi-local? You could actually open in different parts of Indonesia with your process and make a bigger impact by doing the same thing in different places. Would that be a possible solution?
The possible solution, maybe I can tell about our first strategy as a local brand. In 2016, I can tell you that Pijak Bumi became a pioneer in sustainable footwear. So there is a few competitors to tell the story about sustainability, especially in footwear, because footwear becomes like, it's not only a shoes, but it's also people want to talk more about the designs, the eco-aesthetic behind it. So we connect the idea of sustainability with the product you use. So I can tell it's kind of a marketing strategy at first. So everyone can relate, emotionally relate why I have to buy our products, why we have to involve in such movement. Because I thought at the time, it was only less education for our customers. Yeah. At first, it comes from storytelling, but in 2018, we want to create a real impact, a transparency, traceability from the whole of our products, so we can be responsible for what we tell to consumers. And the capacity is, after 2 years having that awareness, we were doing coverage with national televisions, international coverage. We are joining business competitions like Accelerate 2030. It's a startup enabler who is focuses on sustainability in SDGs. So we approach that kind of enabler startup. So I know that the psychological behavior for our customers, at least in Indonesia, that they want to be feeling proud when you were local. Yeah, the achievement, the story behind it. So I can tell the perspective of our consumers, they are not into sustainability at first, because what they need, their primary needs is, I need that shoes to fulfill my interest in fashion, yeah, something like that. So yeah, I understand that we cannot educate them with like, you have to do this. So we need some emotional approach to them. Marketing, achievement, and proof with real impact. So I think running the business in sustainability concept requires strong commitment and purpose. So the message will touch the consumer as well. Yeah. In our website, we tell the whole story, the transparency. We are not telling that we are 100% circular or sustainable, but we tell them about our stage, our small act.
It's a very good story, Vanya, and congratulations to you for doing this. A couple of points. Have you penetrated the Indonesian retail market? Are you selling through bricks and mortar, the big stores, or just online? And secondly, is there price resistance to what you're doing? Because a lot of people are just buying on price. That's what I can afford. So those two things. First of all, have the big retailers taken you on board? Secondly, have the consumers said, I have to have that, even though it's more expensive?
Yeah, that's a tough question and interesting questions. Thank you for asking. In 2016, we were fully online. So people can buy our products through website. And we do some consignment with local store, something like that. So could you please repeat your questions?
No, I'm just saying that quite a lot of footwear is because people often prefer to buy footwear in a bricks and mortar store because they can try them on. Buying online, if you don't get the right size, you have a bit of a problem, right? So that's what I'm saying. Are you in stores, the big stores, where people go and try on shoes? Because that's your business model then allows them to promote you, right? And the second point was about price resistance. Are there people saying, I don't need to buy this because it's more expensive? Because often, craftsman built shoes are more expensive.
Yeah. For the past 5 years, we were going only online, but we joined some offline exhibition, creative exhibition for local brands. So everyone can measure and fitting their shoes at that offline event. But for online sales, for the first 2 years, the return and exchange rate were quite high. Yeah, and it affects our transportation, because you have to back and forth. Yeah.
Bolak-balik, yeah.
Bolak-balik, yeah. And what we can do by doing online. Actually, the content we made in our website, in our Instagram, so we provide them to consult first to us.
Okay.
So like the terms and conditions has to be clear when and why you can return the products. So consult first, educate more in the Instagram, the transparency for the whole information completely. And about the pricing, well, in 2016, before we were pivoting, we target a middle-high market in Indonesia. So our price was like 50 to 70 US dollars in 2016. So it must be middle high in Indonesia. And our thoughts is if we only targeting those middle high, how about the inclusivity to others to get involved wearing a sustainable footwear? So we pivot in 2016 with plant-derived materials, which is considered more affordable in production. Yeah, and then it affects our pricing strategy and our target market and our customers persona. Yeah, which is affect the whole business operations, and which is it's not good because we have to prioritize the market. Yeah. So there has been a time when our market is mixed. Yeah, the middle high and the middle low with different behavior, different communications. Middle high seems more mature and relate to the sustainability, while the middle low with younger millennials, students, they looking for the designs instead of the sustainability. So we have to combine those. Until now, it is still our biggest problem. But what we want to do this year is to targeting the middle high first. Yeah, so we believe that there is a time when the business conditions are quite well, our middle low can catch up to our pricing strategy right now.
Great. Vanya, I let you talk on there because this is so relevant to everything we're talking about in sustainability, the challenges of a startup sustainable company, the way in which market perceptions have to be molded and people have to adapt to the different conditions and keep going and be sustainable yourselves and keep your business going by understanding your market. It's not easy at the very high end and the very low end. I mean, Indonesia has far more low-end consumers, and they're going to be the toughest ones to get, whether it be fashion, whether it be shoes, whether it be anything. They're the ones that are still drinking their coffee from sachets and their plastic bottles of water. I mean, it is the low end, the mass market is really difficult. That's why we have to turn, thank you very much indeed, Vanya. That's why we have to turn to the business side, which is why we're heading over to JP Zavecki. Jean-Pierre, are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready because Marina is able to help me out.
Excellent. Over to you. I've given you your introduction already. JP, tell us how it's all going to work.
One correction to your introduction, you mentioned Palm Brothers as 300,000 workers. No, we have 30,000 workers.
Oh, sorry.
It is anyhow quite a big size to be in manufacturing, and of course takes a lot of commitments to the people that you employ as well as to the clients you serve. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, typo in my research.
No worries. Yeah. So here we go. So,
Over to you.
Marina, can you start for me? Thanks. Yeah. Okay. These will be the key points that we'll be discussing. Who we are. We have started in 1990 in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and the initial company was called Hollit STN BHD. This is equal to PTA Ltd Private Limited, and we started business there. Then in 1994, after opening an initial office here in Indonesia, we moved all the operation to Jakarta. So we have been in Indonesia for almost 27 years. Now, the activities that the company covers and the responsibility I cover is related to a few companies. One is PT Hollit International. Then another one is Continent 8, is a company incorporated in Singapore. We have E-Style in Italy. We have another company there. And of course, we have our Eco Laundry Hijau here in Indonesia, in Solo, where I am today. Under this group of companies, we create a sort of common branding. They call it Creative Kitchen. Creative Kitchen started initially to be just our product development center, but it evolved through the years to cover more responsibilities towards creating sustainable products, so bringing to customers sustainable ideas. So as a company, we are committed to bring ideas to customers and to create, in this sense, more sustainable products. We believe that each player on the supply chain has to be committed to sustainability in order to make a difference. In order that as we are more or less in between the manufacturing world and the brands, in order we are able to bring enough value in the supply chain is that we are able to bring ideas and also educate the supply chain how important it is to try to look for sustainable solutions. Okay, shall we go ahead? Okay, in our work in sustainability started, in 2009, when we partnered with Indorama to use PET bottles, polymers that would have been turned into yarns and then into garments. And we worked together with Indorama for a few years. And at that time, all our brands were extremely excited about what we are bringing in. But at the end, nobody really adopted things because a few cents difference would have made a difference. And there was not really a need to pursue a sustainable road. So everybody was a fantastic idea, a fantastic product. But at the end, I don't want to pay this 3% more or 4% more on the product. So that has taught us a very good lesson that going forward, I think if there is not a big push at all levels, including legislation, sustainability is becoming a very difficult path to undertake. In 2013, after we have been becoming a member of Brothers, we decided to found our own industrial laundry that has been found in Sragen, near Solo. And the name is PT Eco Laundry Hijau Indonesia, because our idea is to create from the beginning a sustainable laundry. Sustainable laundry in terms of having machineries that have low consumption of water, chemicals, and energy. And we achieved that. The road has been not easy because, of course, the investment has been substantial, and also to educate our own customers that our investment is worth the slightly different price we can ask to them to pay, it has been always a challenge. So can we move to the next slide? Thanks. And through this journey, we started to embrace more and more sustainable ideas to bring to our customers. We start to define what is a monomaterial product. So materials, basically, a product is made by the same materials. So that means that at the end of its life cycle, can be recycled back into the same polymer, and from the polymer can become the same product again. Then we start to look at sustainable dyeing. So dyeing that are made by natural vegetable-based pigments, and also mineral dyes that are made from rocks, minerals, soil, sand, that give a very unique shade to garments and are very, very sustainable. At the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, we decided to become committed to sustainability, and we created a strong sustainability and CSR department that we asked Marina to be part of it, and in order to manage and to bring the expertise, know-how, and passion to the people that we are dedicating to this department. And I think we are very proud of what has been achieved through all through these years. There is a long way to go, because at the moment, yes, we are doing a lot, but we are not yet, I think, bringing up enough sustainable products in our portfolio as much as we would. So we have to see in which way we can be more in the face of brands to propose more, to be sure they commit to us as much as we would like them to do. Next slide. Okay, through the sustainability department, we have been launching upcycling services to our customers, and we have also in our portfolio the idea to create a clone of our buyer's product. Basically, the idea will be, you give us your best selling product, we will try to turn it down into materials that can be highly sustainable and create a product that is in the same range of what you have now, but they will be fully sustainable, and eventually can be also become a circular product to look back into the system once the lifestyle will be over. In 2021, we also became GRS certified, and that has been one of the last things we have been able to achieve as a company. Next, please. How to walk the talk in sustainability. Okay, we believe, first of all, that we need to lead by example. So try to take internally whatever we can control ourselves to become more and more sustainable. And be able to communicate the same downwards to our supply chain, in order for them to understand that sustainability is the only choice forward. And only if they are able to understand that, embrace this path together with us, I think the business can be long-lasting and good. Otherwise, it will be always a little bit difficult, and most probably the choice that they will do today, if they are not going to embrace sustainability, a long run will compromise their business. Okay, next slide. Okay. One of the things we have seen, especially during COVID time, that a lot of buyers are now very much been affected in the transportation logistic issues. While pre-COVID to ship containers to Europe and the US was just a a very simple operation. It would take 3 weeks shipping to Europe and 4 or 5 weeks to the US. During the COVID time, transportation became very complex. There were no availability of containers. You had to pre-book containers. There were not enough availability of vessels. So what was before shipping time of only 3 to 5 weeks became more than double. So, and that was not taken into account by all the brands that were bringing this product to the market. So, and so everybody started to question, is our overall supply chain sustainable? Why do we move fabric around from one destination to another one, and then produce in a different country, then ship to our final destination? Why we cannot try to localize more our material sources? So on this principle, we have been working a lot with fabric mills here in Indonesia, try to create a wider variety of fabrics and a wider variety of sustainable fabrics. In terms of sustainable materials, we have been working a lot with kapok. Kapok is an indigenous tree that is very commonly found here in Indonesia. That doesn't need any special treatment, and the kapok fibers is a very good fiber in terms of very lightweight, that is hollow, so it is very much a thermal insulation. It has a sort of antibacterial chemicals by itself, so you don't need to add antibacterial chemicals on the fabric. We have been working on recycled nylon, especially recycled nylon 6 coming from fishing nets. And of course, we have been working into BCI, so beta cotton and recycled polyester. These are products that we have been developing for our clients in both, especially in monomaterials or cotton kapok based. Next, thanks. So we still believe that going forward, localization will be very important, because the more materials we are able to develop locally, the more business we'll be able to build, and more control we'll be able to give, creating more opportunities to bring into the market sustainable products. Next, please. Okay. Of course, the most common natural fibers material is coming from cotton. And now cotton travels, of course, all over the world to come to a spinner. Then the spinner goes to become a yarn, and from the yarn it become fabrics. And at the moment, we are also looking in which way we can change or we can reduce the consumption of cotton by adding additional fibers that have a similar natural cellulose content. So kapok was one of the first choices that we look at. The second one, we are looking to recycle cotton that few mills here in Indonesia are starting to do it. We are working with international players to have what is recycled cotton into cellulose base. That is one brand is called Refibra. So basically is a yarn that is a fiber that's coming out of the same principle of producing viscose and rayon. And we will look for more and more alternative in order to be able to reduce the consumption of cotton that now is largely the most used natural fiber. Next. Yeah, and of course, this was already highlighted before by Marina. It's very important that products are designed to be sustainable, are designed for their end of life. Because if we mix eventually natural fibers with synthetic fibers at the end of their lifetime, will be impossible with the present technology that are in place to be recycled again. So it's very important, first of all, the product are designed rightfully, and for the take into consideration what will be the end of the product, on the top of the fact that the most durable they are, the better it will be. In this vision, we also believe that using recycled polyester is not really a solution, because recycled polyester coming from PET bottles is just taking away from the packaging industry a material that I think is better the packaging industry to recycle back in their own in their own PET bottles. We believe that we should try to recycle materials that belong to the same industry. We believe that only looking for the right end of life product is the best way to be sustainable. Next, please. Yeah, this is what I mentioned before. Monomaterial nylon 6 basically is coming from fishing nets that are recycled into polymers that are made into fabrics that then are made into finished product. Thanks. Next one. These are all different products we're developing monomaterial nylon 6 that we brought to the attention of our customer, and hopefully now something will happen that in that direction. And of course, also designing product for zero waste will be important in order to see if why we create a product where we can reduce, for example, the cutting waste, where eventually all the small areas within the paper pattern can be utilized to design another product that can be complementary to the first one. These are all ideas that we try to bring to our customers. And of course, for us, it's very important the activity of our laundry. Our laundry was initially designed to be very much addressed to garment dye. Why garment dye? Garment dye was, say, started in 1980 in Italy with the Benetton brand, because they wanted to bring it to the market very quickly, new product. So they were basically preparing the garments, and then when they want to bring new color into the market, they were then just simply dyeing the final product. What is beneficial in garment dye? Garment dye eliminate the dyeing of roughly 15% of the cutting waste, and then the cutting waste can be much easier recycled back into the system. Garment dye also allow you to decide last moment which color to bring into the market, so is create a much faster response to the market. Allow brands to not estimate too quickly and too soon the colors they want to do it, that sometimes turn out to be stock they don't know how to sell. And generally consume much less water than the traditional fabric dyeing. So our garment dyeing average goes between 5 to 15 liquid ratio, means for each kilo of garments we dye, we will have between 5 and 10, 15 liters of water. Why? If we do it on fabric dye, that will be threefold higher. Okay, so garment dye has been the focus of our activity in the laundry, and there's been also the focus of our marketing strategy towards brands. in the last few years, we have been also looking for additional dyeing that would bring more sustainable products to the brands. And as I mentioned before, we are working a lot now in natural dyes, especially mineral dyes, because mineral dyes has much better color fastness and much better consistency of the color. While plant-based dyes have less, the color fastness is not as good, and then the consistency of the color change with the seasons. So it's a little bit more difficult to give the consistency of the color that the buyer wants. Other things we have been doing in our laundry is also to do dyes that are very low liquid ratio, 1:1, means 1 kilo of materials, garments, with 1 liter of water. That can be achieved in our Tonello machines by nebulizing, basically creating a cloud that is a mix of moisture and dye stuff, and that is the most advanced, I think, dyeing method that we can bring it to the market. Next, I'm getting a little bit lost, and of course we have been working out to create more sustainable practice in the laundry. We have been able to install solar panels on our roof to cover our electricity needs, most probably at our full capacity, and in the right season we will be able to achieve 35 to 40% of the energy coming from solar panels. We are working in a way to recycle our wastewater treatment plant water into the system. That is one of the next project we are having. We are working now to change the fuel of our boilers from wood to other natural substances. We are always looking for what we can do next, because if we don't think that there is always something that we can do better, we will never progress. We will never be able to change the perspective how the world is thinking, and we want to never rest on what we have been able to achieve, and always try to move forward and contribute for a better world. That's where we are. I think I most probably forgot a few things on the way, but oh yeah, the last one, that of course the private sector can do as much as they want, but without bringing in especially international laws and regulation that are forcing the industry to change. There will be always companies or individuals will try to have shortcuts, so putting a lot of pressure on the private sector to succeed. So it's important that laws and regulation are coming to place, and the implementation of the laws will be in place. Otherwise, it will be difficult to change things. That's it for my side. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Absolutely illuminating and very important, everything that you're talking about. And I think the problem is, does everyone see it the same? Is there a responsibility throughout all of these chains you're talking about? One of the key points that you made there was that each player in the supply chain has to be also sustainable. And of course, at each stage, there are different degrees of sustainability as well. I mean, one of the worst industries is the one you're relying on for exports, which is the shipping industry. You mentioned it earlier. I mean, we haven't yet got electric ships. I know they're working on them, but ships and planes for export that's one of your supply chain suppliers. And it's very difficult to improve on sustainability there. But are you aware of the brands who are buying your services worldwide? Are they aware of all of the sustainability in the supply chain that they're buying into? So you've got a brand who says, hey, we want to be sustainable, but they don't check every element of their own supply chain. Or are you confident that they're doing so?
I think there are smaller brands that started their path in sustainability at the very beginning, and they're very much committed to it. They're very much advanced, and these are brands we like to work with because it's very easy to establish a sort of understanding and chemistry from the beginning. But then you have also the bigger brands that they come loud to you, say we have to be sustainable, and they push things back into the supply chain, and they don't do as much as they should to lead the industry. The majority of them, they want to polish their image and they say, okay, we are sustainable, we want to look good, but we want you to pay for it. So it's a little bit complicated. I also understand these giant brands, they have to respond to the market. They have to respond to a lot of employees. So for them to make changes is not as easy as the small ones, because the small ones are much more flexible. But they should have a less bully attitude and be a little bit more humble and try to listen more, try to work more with the supply chain to see what is possible to be done, and not try to push back the additional cost that to become sustainable is unavoidable, to push to others, try to understand, to commit to the pain to become sustainable and be able to deal with it. And that's the most difficult part, because of course we are coming out of 2 years where the economy has been suffering from COVID. So it's very difficult to find the right balance between the economics, sustainability, all the rest. So I don't blame anybody, but is with I think a little bit more humble and approach and listening more around, they will get much further and much quicker than they do now.
Well, and as Marina said earlier, I mean, the competitive nature of the big brands and the big retailers, they're responding to consumer pressure. They have to do the mass manufacturing. They're committed to price points, and they end up not being able to do what they want to do, I guess, at the moment. Something like that. By the way, you'll see that we have not got a big retailer or a big brand on this webinar. We asked 5, and none of them were able to join us. And we wonder whether that's because they haven't actually got their journey together, or whether they are just too busy, as they said. We are slightly concerned that the former answer is the correct one. But of course, we're not going to be able to prove that. Second point for you, JP. You said you started off this journey with PET bottles with Indorama, and now when you got to the end of your presentation, you said you've gone back to PET again. I mean, disappointing that people don't want to pay 3 or 4% more. Is that different now, or are we getting more conscious that we have to pay for sustainability?
I think now people understand that. But then 2 things: all the commodities price are going up, so at the end price have to go up. So but they will always try to push the price. They put pressure on pricing on the manufacturer. They will always do. PET now is becoming the most common. Polyester coming from PET bottles is becoming the most common sustainable marketing tools of all the brands. That at the end is a little bit sad, because we are taking away resources from the packaging industry. The price will keep on rise up, and I think there's nothing wrong in the polyester. Virgin polyester is a great product, but we need to know in which way we are going to recycle back once their lifetime is finished, because we cannot just keep on disposing of garments that we have been doing for many years. So I think there's nothing wrong in virgin nylon and virgin polyester, but just how we want to design product for which at the end of the life of this product there is a way that can be looked back in whichever way into the market.
I'm sorry, I went offline there. My internet connection is not very stable here in Bali, so if I disappear, I do apologize. I'm just going to ask one last question to everybody here, if you don't mind. Just make sure that we get a wrap up before I get wrapped up by my internet service. Marina, this is our second webinar. We've gone through some really good stuff over the last two sessions. We had Jerome talking about the kapuk, when we thought was just brilliant, because Indonesia is full of kapuk and it's easy to do. We've had David Forsgate, who was talking about his whole sustainability journey and looking at how to improve the way in which big brands looked at sustainability. We had Winston Mulyadi from Lensing, who have actually got one of the better materials, raw materials, refibra technology. So we've gone through quite a lot of the journey, looking at what the ways that are getting better. We had Monty Hassan, who was doing the hat equivalent of Vania with his topiku, really an artisan base. So we've looked at the small, we've looked at the medium, we've looked at the big. Marina, of all the things that you've talked about, if in Indonesia, what do you think the most important thing is for people to concentrate on? You have got a broad look at the whole industry. Is it the manufacturing side? Is that where it has to start? Or is it, as JP said, the legislation to bring people into more sustainability? Or is it the consumer? Or is it all three?
In fact, some other countries are a little bit easier than Indonesia. So for Indonesia, I would say it's quite complex, actually, because the country or the industry itself is a bit more at an early stage of sustainability, which is the base for circularity. Without sustainability, there can be circularity, but there should not be circularity, because what we recover and reutilize into cycles should have been made in a sustainable way in the first place. So actually we are starting here a bit more from scratch. And Indonesia, as we all know, is the fourth largest country by population, and it's also a massively emerging market with a growing consumer market. So what we have here is we have a full supply chain set up for manufacturing, but we also have the full consuming power all in one country. Whereas, for example, if you look into my home market, Germany, that is a consuming market, but not a producing market. So back home in Germany, we are more challenged with post-consumer waste and these kind of circularity concepts in terms of retail, take-back systems, resale, leasing, and so on. Here in Indonesia, we have all the options, which means also we have all the challenges, because we have to recover resources that get lost in the manufacturing process and bring them back into the loop. That means in the manufacturing stages, we need to set up full textile waste management systems and reutilization possibilities, relogistic infrastructures in terms of reusing the raw materials in finite loops. And then we also, of course, need to have awareness raising campaigns for the consumers in terms of looking at your consumption patterns and behaviors, and also offering maybe new circular business models. And of course, and this has already started in Indonesia, is to provide more policy framework that is kind of guiding the industry. There is the setup of a national circular economy strategy. I'm not sure if that has been continued or if that kind of stopped in the initial stages, but textile industry obviously was identified as one of the key industries also to set circularity goals. And what was mainly identified for Indonesia was to look into textile waste management recycling, and also to look into alternative materials as like the key targets.
Vania talked about her online business, which is increasingly important. The online retail business is very important. Is there an opportunity, I'll throw this to all of you, opportunity for the online business, the Gojeks, the Grabs, the Maxes, all of those, to actually be a collection point for textile and garment waste, particularly garments that you're delivering to houses. Could those same motorcycles and cars take things away to central collecting points and use the other side of the delivery, which has been so good with Go Food and Shopee Food and Food and everybody, but they go away with nothing in their hands mostly. Is that an option? Is that something that's been considered?
I think it's
Danielle, what's your thoughts?
I think it's a great idea. But
Yeah, JP first.
no, I think it would be a great idea, but how to implement it will take time to understanding which way to create this kind of loop where it's not just one way and the return is empty. Is same is happening in our industry. We have trucks going to deliver things to a shop, but then coming back empty. Instead of coming back empty, maybe they can come back with returns. They come back with packaging materials, and I think is the all the optimization, the logistic is something that will need more attention. I think the logistics itself will see also the opportunity there to make some extra income, right?
I would have thought so. I mean, that the return journey is where the money is made. Planes never go back empty.
Yeah.
I mean, they just wouldn't fly in because they wouldn't go back. Oh, I'm taking people to Indonesia. I'm going back to Paris empty and pick up some more people. That doesn't work. Buses are always full. Taxis fill up wherever they are, but the motorcycle taxis go back empty, right? The delivery services. That's one of the only completely unproductive services we've invented. So there's something there. Anyway, just the usual brainstorming. Will it help? We've got somebody from Costa Rica
Alistair,
online.
I just want to quickly say to your question that actually this is already done, not with Gojek and Grab or whatever the delivery services are called, but big recyclers in Indonesia that have like a lot of recycling factories throughout the country. They collaborate, for example, with mosques and other organizations that are in every village, for example, established, and they put collecting points at these places where a lot of people gather and where a lot of waste may be occur, especially polyester waste, to collect it for recycling. But what I want to say actually is to these organizations that offer delivery service, they actually provide the drivers with special garments, jackets. And these jackets have been adding up to a massive amount of waste in Indonesia, which is not really reusable in terms of the way it has been designed. So also if someone is listening, feel free to reach out. We are very happy to help you creating your products for more sustainability. That's
a really good point too, because the most visible color in Indonesia is green. The jackets are all green, but the manufacturing of the jackets is not green. Let's sort that out. Final point, Vania. Are you going to be able to? You said you wanted to expand and have a bigger impact. How are you going to do that? We want you to succeed. How can we help?
Okay, I'm thinking. With our own capacity right now, what we can do is collaborate more with maybe Khalid International, with the expertise, like what we did previously with Gamatex. Gamatex is a textile manufacturer which is committed to producing recycled cotton. So we approach that kind of entities actually. So what we can do right now is continuously commit to what we do from 2016. And talking about your ideas, yeah, in Indonesia, there are lots of drop box in offline event, offline exhibition in the mall. So you can, return your worn shoes, something like that. So what we want to do right now, we want to extend our shoes with repair warranty, in 2 years, they can give a return the shoes and we can recycle with our sampangan. Sampangan is a waste management system in Indonesia that can recycle the whole elements into like carbon active, and it can be used to be what is it, like
Compost or something?
block, yeah, something like that, compost. So I
Okay.
think we have to connect to more different entities, different organizations with the same values, so we can work together, not only for the brand itself.
Very good, Vanya. I like your way of thinking. Young Indonesian entrepreneurs to the fore. Let's go.
And
Thank you.
we
Final
always
point from JP.
we're always open to collaboration. So please get in touch. Let's meet up, and by meeting up, we can create ideas together. Yeah.
Thank you.
That wraps us up on a very successful collaboration note. Not competition, but collaboration. And we will. I think there's a lot of people we've been speaking to who should know each other better. Bali, there's a lot of consciousness and sustainability. The youth market here is very open to collaboration as well. So let's try and bring people together. But on behalf
I
of
can tell you what we can do together. Let's make some garment dye shoes, sneakers using mineral dyes.
there you go.
Of course, yeah. We can make a sample first, yeah. We love to doing such a research and development to our sneakers. We can do everything.
That
So
will
keep
be
in touch, JP.
easy way to start a collaboration through our laundry.
Well done.
Yeah.
JP, any last points from you? What would you like people to take away from this? Are the big brands responding? Should we still be buying them? Or should we be really selectively looking for signs on the garments that we buy that they've been made and sourced responsibly?
What I believe as a consumer, I will try to look at not too much at the brand, but at the value of the product they're going to buy. Yeah, so I think brand value itself is diminishing through the years. So I will always say, consumer, buy what you think is the best product for you, and try to look for sustainable solutions. Smaller brands now are much more advanced, much more in tune with the consumers than bigger brands. Bigger brands have to spend a lot of words just to do marketing and try to polish the image, and let them suffer a little bit to become more sustainable. I think there are a lot of smaller brands that bring better value to the market.
Thank you, JP. We need this has been the foundation of Indonesia's industry, the small and medium enterprises. I think it's where we have to go back to, whether it be in any industry, but in fashion and garments, of course, that works very well. To everybody who is listening, we'll be delighted to share any information. If you tell Aggie, who's on the chat, who you are, we'll share the information with you, or get directly in touch with her by email. That's going to wrap up our 2 webinar series on sustainable fashion. We haven't touched the edges yet, but we have at least started the questions, and we've got a lot of the answers. We've looked at small industries, we've looked at raw materials, we've looked at innovation, we've looked at the closed loop, thanks to Marina, and we are a little bit further down the path. So to our speakers today, a huge thank you to Marina, to Vanya, and to JP, and a thanks to my team behind the scenes, and to all of you for being with us. Stay well, stay safe, and stay sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thanks to organize.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.